Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 74 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today, we are joined by... I'm pointing to my side like he's sitting right next to me, but that's not the case. We are joined by the one and only Offhand Disney. Why don't you say hello to the people?
Oh, hello. It has been, like you said earlier, a long time since we've had a nice Disney conversation, so I'm happy to be back with you guys.
Yes, we're all excited to have Dallin here, and later on in the show, we're going to be interviewing a storyboard artist from the Disney Channel TV show Tangled, the series. Very excited about that, you guys. We hope you all have an amazing time here at the stream. Yeah, hello, we got the one and only Michael Eisner back again in our chat. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us, Mr. Eisner. I'm literally shaking right now, but yeah, so welcome to everybody. Hopefully this stream goes over well. I'm thinking, I should have said this before we started, but I'm thinking if enough people want, or if enough people have questions for our fellow interviewee, you guys can join the waiting room on my Discord server. If you don't have the link to my Discord server, you can do !Discord in the chat, and it's not called the waiting room, it's called the stretching room. I keep calling it the waiting room, but it's officially called the stretching room. So if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask her, after we get through with all of our questions, we'll go ahead and maybe move up a couple people from the waiting room, and then they can ask any questions that they have. So yeah, we'll see if we got It's Sean in there. So big shout out to It's Sean for being the first in line in our stretching room. But yeah, welcome to everybody. Yeah, you can also do Patreon and donate if you like to donate to the stream. And I always forget to shout this out. Big shout out to the Live Place. They are a what is the word I'm looking for? They sort of like a hosting website for a bunch of other Disney related podcasts. I've been a part of their website for a few months. Many months, I think. It's been a long time. But yeah, big shout out to them. If you like to visit their website, link is in the description below. No, you gotta use the exclamation mark, not type out !donate. Sorry, Ethan. My goodness. But I guess now we will get right into this week's news from the peak. After I get this prepared.
We now present to you news from the peak.
Our first bit. We got a lot of I guess I should start off by saying, you guys, there hasn't been a lot of news this week, so I had to really scratch the bottom of the barrel when it came to some of these. Unlike last week, there was a lot of stuff to talk about. But yeah, so our first bit of Disney news comes from Walt Disney World News Today. According to them, Disney has filed a permit to demolish the bar inside the ESPN zone at Downtown Disney, which has been closed since June 30th of last year. It was originally closed to make way for the Four Diamond Hotel, if you guys remember that whole debacle. But of course, as you may know, the plans for the hotel were scrapped. So yeah, very excited to see where the future of the ESPN zone lies. Personally, I love the ESPN zone. I'm going to miss it so much. Yeah, let's see. Dallin, what are your thoughts on finally demolishing the ESPN zone at Downtown Disney?
Well, I've personally never actually been into the ESPN zone there, but I heard that they had annual pass holder exclusive menu items. So I'm sad I never made it in there. And I was actually very excited for the new hotel. It looked, I don't know. I feel like it would have given Downtown Disney just a breath of fresh air because they've been renovating Downtown Disney recently in order to fit better with the theme of that hotel. But now that hotel has been kind of shelved for now, I don't know. I think I I wonder what they're gonna do with the space now. If they're gonna keep it closed, if they're gonna reopen, and it's just the bar, right, for the ESPN zone.
I believe so. Yeah, just the bars that's going to be demolished.
Building. So yeah, so I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with that space specifically. Why they wanted to just take down the bar.
Alex, what about you?
That's interesting. I didn't know you needed a permit to demolish a bar. Like, I figured as long as it was inside the building. Well, I guess you do. Well, anyway. So I've never been in there either because I'm not really much of a sports person. I don't understand sports. I never did. You. I kind of stare at the people that watch sports, trying to figure out what's going on in their head. But anyway, I hope that they bring something like new and exciting to this area, because ever since they closed down all the businesses there, it definitely became like this dead zone instead of ESPN zone. And so, yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do that's new. And also, you misspelled filed.
Did I misspell every week, you guys?
But you know what? You know what, though? It does say filled. So permit filled.
I mean, it could go.
So, yeah,
it could go either way.
It could go either way.
Oh my goodness. Every week, you guys. New and exciting things on the Matterhorn Mondays podcast. Let's see. Our second bit of news comes from... I have no idea who this man is. Tom Lister, the voice of Finnick. If you know who that character is from Zootopia. It's been a while since I've seen it. Apparently, he said that Zootopia is getting 2 new sequels. He doesn't say when the sequels are coming out. All he says is that, I'm going to quote from this article from WDW News Today again. He says, quote, "I can tell you for sure I'm doing another Zootopia with Disney. We're doing 3 of them. We, the biggest film," this is how I'm not mispronouncing this. This is how it was written. "We, the biggest film that Disney is producing. The last one was $240 million. This one I'm hearing will be $300 million. That's what they spent on the budget, not the advertising." So, if you guys are fans of Zootopia, big shout out to Zootopia. I wasn't much of a fan of the movie, but I guess big props to Disney for making 3 new sequels. Alex, what do you think about Zootopia getting 3 new sequels?
Look, I liked Zootopia a lot, but as I usually say with movies, it doesn't need a sequel. Yeah.
Okay, I agree. What about you, Mr. Dallin?
Now, I'm going to do a lot of comparisons here because I guess they might probably just wouldn't confirm it right now, but we only have 1 confirmed sequel for Frozen, which is the highest grossing Disney movie of all time. So it's interesting that Zootopia is, I guess, more or less kind of is already confirmed to be getting 2. Now, we're not sure if Frozen's going to be getting Frozen 3 for a whole trilogy or anything, but I find it very interesting. Zootopia movie, I really did. I didn't think it left as much of an impact as they were aiming for. But they are building a Zootopia land in, I believe, is it Shanghai?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very strong possibility that same land will come to Animal Kingdom. So I do think Disney's trying to build up that Zootopia franchise, maybe to make it on par with Frozen. We'll see what happens, though. I will definitely see them. Disney movies.
Fair points. My favorite part of the Zootopia movie was the Shakira dance number at the end. That should be everybody's favorite part. But yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about this just because I'm not much of a Zootopia fan. But yeah, love to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments or in the chat. By the way, I always forget to say this. If you guys would like to watch the stream with us live, because we record these live on my second channel, Matterhorn Matt Streams. If you guys would like to join us, partake in typing in the chat so you can give your live input on what we're talking about. Link is on the sidebar of my channel to my second channel, Matterhorn Matt Streams. We'd love to have a lot of you guys, as many people as you decide to show up. We love interacting with everybody. But yeah, back on topic for our last and certainly greatest bit of Disney news. New Mickey Mouse popcorn buckets just arrived at Walt Disney World, you guys. And these I'm telling you guys, I'll switch to an image right here. These are the greatest popcorn buckets I've ever seen in my entire life. Guests can purchase these new Mickey Mouse balloon popcorn buckets at the Magic Kingdom for only $18, you guys. That's a bargain.
Steal. It's a steal.
With $2 refills too, so that's pretty good in my book. So yeah, this is what it looks like. There's also a black and white variant, which I think I like better than the glossy sort of original Mickey Mouse colors. So if you guys would like to, it looks like a deformed bowling ball, says T. Will. Thank you, T. Will, for bringing some much needed insight to the podcast. But I'd buy this if I had $18 to spend. I'd definitely buy this.
The black and white one is being sold at Disneyland.
That's what I'm about to say. The black and white one is more matte, and it's Disneyland exclusive.
Well, that just makes it even better.
And you said matte, so that works for
Matte with an E.
Oh my gosh!
I think I like the black and white one more.
It's just another Saturday, you guys, on this channel. But yeah, I do like the black and white one better. In my opinion, it looks more soft, I guess, because matte has that sort of feeling rather than glossy. You sort of get fingerprints on it. But yeah, if you guys,
Mark from TASG Vlogs, he got one recently. I saw his video that he posted.
Oh, that's right.
And he was saying the one problem with the matte black one is that is like after you eat your popcorn, you realize like you got greasy fingers all over your Mickey bucket. So because it like really shows up on the matte black apparently. But yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just have to buy both of them just to figure it out.
That's the only solution.
But yeah, so love to hear if any of you guys end up purchasing one of these lovely. I think there was like another Steamboat Willie related one that Disney Dan unboxed a while back. That one was pretty cool. But if any of you guys end up buying one of these popcorn buckets, send a picture of us, or send a picture to in the Discord. We'd love to showcase you, I guess, eating out of your popcorn bucket. And yeah, I didn't really know how to end that, but I guess, before we get started, I've been meaning to announce this for a while. I feel like it'd be fun. This is just like, okay, I'm just putting this out there for you guys. I feel like it would be maybe not fun, but sort of interesting to have birthday shout-outs on the stream. So maybe you guys I can like set up a Google form doc or something, and you can like put your username and like when your birthday is, and the week that your birthday comes up, we'll announce it on the podcast. If you guys are interested in that, I feel like that'd be a really great way to interact more with our community. And people, I guess we could like sing happy birthday. That'd be cool. Alex, do you sing? You could sing happy birthday for us.
Oh yeah, sure. You've heard me sing before.
Yeah, I mean, Alex is a lovely singer. But if you guys are interested in that, definitely, I guess, type in chat, comment down below. I'll look it all. You can just imagine Alex singing happy birthday. But yeah,
you heard me sing When You Wish Upon a Star, so.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
That was terrible.
But yeah, I'll look at all the feedback regarding that, and next week I'll get back to you guys on whether or not we decide to do it. But that reminded me, because T. Will just said it's his birthday tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday. T. Will, happy early birthday. He says he'll be 21. So, yeah, I'd love to have T. Will around. Hope to have him for many more weeks to come, and that goes for the rest of you guys as well. But yeah, I guess. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, T. Will. We hope you have an amazing birthday tomorrow. Yeah, on that note, I guess it is time to get with the interview people. All right, let me go to transition this. And all right, so this is Kait. Her links will be all in the description below. And why don't you go ahead, I guess before we get started, why don't you go ahead and explain what kind of work you're in?
Hi. So yeah, my name is Kate Ritter, and currently a story supervisor at Disney Television Animation. I've wrapped up my time on Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, where I was a storyboard artist. So I got promoted for the next thing, which is top secret. Can't talk about it quite yet, but I have a feeling it'll probably be announced within the next few months. So that's super exciting. But yeah, so story stuff.
Awesome. So I guess it's been a while since we've done an interview. Holy cow. But let's see. I guess I'll start, and then Alex has a couple questions, and then Dallin can sort of go over his slew of questions that he's written down. So, my first question for you is: when did you start your career when it comes to artistic? I guess just art.
It's funny. I was like thinking I used to do weeks. I did caricatures at Six Flags Great as like a summer job. I ended up quitting pretty quickly because it was really scary. Like it was just like a little too intense for me. You had like 5 to caricature whoever sat in front of me, like 2 people, 5 people, a baby I had once. That was really stressful. And you worked for commission too, so you were supposed to try your very best to sell, like, oh, would you like it matte, like on a kind of, what do they call it, it's like a mat, right? Framed and matted, and you had to like dazzle them with your showmanship in this really crude marker drawing, and it was stressful. I ended up leaving after 2 weeks. It was like that and a million other reasons. But so that was like the real quote unquote art job, I guess. But after I started college, I went to Savannah College and studied animation with a minor in story. And I had like an internship in New York City at this like startup company it was called Fun Go Play. I don't think it exists anymore. But it was like an online interactive kids game, kind of like Club Penguin. So I was just doing like prop design and like some art stuff for them. And then after college, at Blue Sky Animation Studios as a story trainee. And then pretty quickly after that, I moved to California. And I was at a couple different places, but mostly Warner Brothers feature animation and then Disney TV. So kind of been a weird, a weird journey.
Well, that's awesome. I couldn't even imagine like actually drawing stuff and like the drawings actually being good because like I'm a terrible drawer. But second question, is Tangled your favorite Disney movie?
I think in Disney princesses, yes, like definitely my favorite Disney princess. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. That was definitely like the animated movie for me that left an impression at a very early age. Like I love Disney movies. Like I love every Disney movie, but I think that was the one that I saw. I have this really distinct memory of being at a sleepover in like 2nd grade, and all my friends were in one room watching Parent Trap and like Lindsay Lohan and like painting their nails, and I was by myself with my friend's mom watching The Nightmare Before Christmas in the rec room. Like I was like, I want to watch the creepy skeleton. Like it's my favorite. So, but I think in terms of, yeah, I love Rapunzel. Tangled is definitely.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas, so...
Whoa.
I saw that you hadn't seen that in one of your videos, and come on.
I think I saw the very tail end of it, maybe like a week before Christmas, because they were showing it on TV, but it's on my list, you guys. I'll get to it eventually.
Good.
But Alex, you have some questions prepared as well.
Yes. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
So I was wondering, who were your inspirations when it came to art?
I think, again, like just going back really early, because like the things that inspired me to become an artist were cartoon characters. Ooh, like I love, Invader Zim. I want to draw that character. So first, and then I kind of gradually learned like, oh, that was made by Jonan Vasquez. I like kind of placed the artists later. So definitely Jonan. Invader Zim was a really formative show for me also. And then from there, again, going back to my favorite Disney movies and like looking back at the artists that were responsible for a lot of them. Obviously, Glenn Keane, huge inspiration. Ward Kimball is another one who I love. I love Pigs is Pigs. Pecos Bill, like those weird classic old Disney shorts. Jamie Hewlett's another. Shane Prigmore is a fantastic artist. He actually was one of the head honchos on Tangled the series for a bit. So completely starstruck when when we met, he had seen my art. Like he knew already and he knew what my art looked like. And he was one of my heroes. And I was like, wait, how? I was so freaked out by it. But he actually got like a huge promotion at Disney Television Animation. So like, I think, oh gosh, I hope I don't get this wrong, but he's important. He's very important, very talented, very sweet. So yeah, I feel like those, definitely some of the big ones.
Awesome. And so I was also wondering, what was your favorite episode to work on?
My favorite episode to work on, it has not aired yet. It is a season 3 episode for sure. But of what has aired, I would say Queen for a Day was definitely, I've talked about it a lot. I got to board big song in that episode, his Let Me Make You Proud, the character defining moment for him. And I love that character. I also got to board a really emotional moment for Rapunzel where she has to make a choice about whether she's going to send Eugene out into these really dangerous conditions to go and try and find her parents who are missing. Like it's really high stakes. It's a lot. And then she leaves to help Varian because of the circumstances. And I got to do that. And then I got to do Varian finding his dad who's been like tragically encased in amber. So there was just so much stuff. And it was like it was the most challenging thing I'd had to board from like a character emotion perspective. So yeah, I think definitely that one. But like I said, my favorite hasn't aired yet.
Oh, okay. You know what's really cool about this series is like, as I like really look into depth at it, I feel like there's like the final animation has a lot of like Mary Blair kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Chris is the showrunner for Tangled the series, or Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. I'm sorry, it changed. Still getting used to it 2 seasons later. But when he and Shane Prigmore had initially pitched and conceived the show with Disney, I believe made the decision to try to make hearken to the artwork that Rapunzel paints in her tower, which is Glenn Keane's daughter is the artist. So yeah, I think that's where you're seeing. And that's again with the title. If you've seen the show, the title flips through Rapunzel's journal, and that's sort of like your way into her journaling her the past few years. So that's a very conscious choice, and I'm glad that it landed.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And now I believe Dallin has some questions prepared as well.
Yeah. So first of all, let me just say, me and my girlfriend absolutely adore the TV show. And just massive thank you and just amazing job, everyone over there at the studio. You're all doing fantastic. I really can't wait for more episodes. It's such just a great show. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Like your video really meant a lot because I mean, obviously, as you know, we're not really airing right now. What's up? So yeah, I mean, the fans have been so amazing throughout this like just me being a part of the show, like that's easily been my favorite part, is just the fans. They make it completely worth it. I just am so eager for the rest of it to air because I'm so excited for what's coming, and just to watch everybody's reactions, all the fan art. Like I've never come from feature animation. Primarily, this was my first television show. So I've never had the sort of direct connection and live response thing with a fan base before. Usually, a movie comes out and you've been off it like 2-3 years. So you read the people have to say and you're kind of like, yeah, all right. And then you work on the next secret thing you can't talk about for 5 years. Super, super, super cool to be able to see people reacting. And yeah, just thank you so much for promoting and being a fan and supporting. It means
absolutely. Thank you. So now let me ask you, what parts of the Tangled movie do you guys want to try to replicate, but just kind of how do you guys keep the feeling from the movie carrying it over to the TV show? And you do it so well because it feels just like a natural extension of the movie. Is there any processes you guys just watch the movie every week, or?
Oh man.
How do you do that?
I mean, it's our service. Everybody has it. I'm sure I've seen it well over 10, 20, 30 times. I know I have. But I think a really, really, really big part of it is the voice and Alan Menken being attached to the project. And just for, I mean, I'm speaking to a bunch of Disney nerds, so I know everybody probably knows, but Alan Menken, person responsible for most great Disney music, but also the movie music from Tangled. And he has been attached from the beginning through the end, writing songs for these characters. He knows them. He knows for Rapunzel and Eugene. And I think having Mandy and Zach was really integral, nailing the authenticity of the characters. And Chris is he's such a big Tangled fan, and I know that feels very strongly connected to the characters. So him being with those guys and really trying to bring the performance back to where those characters are at in this new, and also Zach and Mandy just have such a fondness for the characters themselves that like they'll push back, like if they don't feels good, like they'll say, and that's really cool because like they care a lot. But in terms of like as a board artist, definitely, I mean, we were for a really long time we were able to get video footage of these guys in the booth. So Mandy, like the way that she just gesticulates is so much like Rapunzel. So it was really helpful to be able to look at her voice acting performance and kind of borrow from it and put that back into Rapunzel's acting. And there's things that she does throughout the movie and that Eugene does throughout the movie that we're able to redo and borrow from and do again with a twist. She's really clumsy, so it's fun to do little things like that. So yeah, but I think Mandy and Zach have a really, really big effect on it.
It's great to know that it's just at its core, it's just fans of the movie working on the television show. I think that's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
One other question for you. Do you have any funny stories or a favorite memory from when you first started working on the show in the early phases of when you were brought in?
I do. There is one episode where and it is my fault. S&P is Standards and Practices for Television, and they are the ones, this is too risque, or we can't do this because kids might do XYZ thing. So they're the ones that kind of come in and like make crazy with the content we're making for kids and for families. I don't know how they allowed me to do this, but in What the Hair, it's also crazy because they have a big thing about characters getting hit on the head, which for us was a challenge because in the movie they hit people with frying pans, and like we've had to cheat it a lot, right. How we do that because it's Tangled. But he hits his head on, I think it's like a magnifier. I remember pitching the board where he pulls his gloved hand back and there's blood on it, and I was like, can I do that? And like Shane Prigmore, I swear, I'm not trying to throw shade. was the one who said it was fine. So I don't know. It would, like, season 3, if I had pitched that, they would have been like, what are you doing? Like, are you kidding me? Like, so I don't know how it got through, but it's there and I'm very proud of it. So
that's awesome. I mean, it made it through. It's a little piece of you. So I
know, it's my favorite. I think that and the joke that I added in was it Great Expectations? Those are two of my favorite things I've contributed.
Yeah, no, that is a very interesting story. And now I have to say the least. I think that wraps up for mine. I just got one little quick parting question for you. What would be what is your favorite Disney song and why? What impact does it have on you?
Man, really.
Music is such a big part of everything.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It doesn't even right.
It's so hard. Oh no. I mean,
it doesn't even have to be like a song from Tangled or anything. It could be a
I'm
score,
like,
favorite motif.
That's what I'm struggling. Man, do I want to say a song from Tangled just because like that's been my life for 4 years? But honestly, I think At Last I See the Light, like that moment in that movie, it still gets me after like 4 years of boarding on the show and watching it so many times, still is able to really move me. Which just, sorry, my cat is screaming. I'm being emotional right now. I think the fact that after all this time, song is still able to affect me that way, and you know, that movie is so beautiful. I think I have to say that.
Absolutely. Just Alan Menken, pure and simple, the animation tied with it. It's Mandy and Zach's performance was just everything in that scene lined up so perfectly. I have to agree with you.
I agree.
And that's all I got.
All right.
I agree as well. That is one of my favorite songs. And I do have one last parting question for you. Do you have any advice to someone who would like to get into the same line of work as you? Say they want to work on their favorite TV show from the Disney Channel, or maybe they want to work in animation for the movies. What advice do you have to give to them?
You know, it's an interesting time. Artists, I think, making a decision about art school and like whether or not kind of go that route and apply for an art college or to do things online and to function through social media. I think what the most important is to kind of like do your due diligence in studying, like if you want to work in animation, so like studying film, watch animated movies, but also live action movies, because the animated movies borrow from live action film to tell those stories. And have like a book that you're really fond of and you want to be a storyboard artist, a really good exercise for a storyboard sequence, rather than having to just kind of pull one out of your head, just pick something from that book and storyboard that, just storyboard something with the goal of, I want whoever's watching this to laugh or to feel sad, like a very simple for the board. And whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's animation, I would say the same sort of applies to that, convey a feeling or a very clear action. If you want to be a character designer, same thing, convey that through a drawing of a character. Once you kind of do those studies and you try a bunch of different things, post them. I think the internet is a really, really powerful tool these days. Having an online presence, an accessible portfolio, something really easy for anybody to just click through, like doesn't have to be fancy, put it out there so that it's like most of the time we're looking at these things like on the fly during lunch, so the easier it is to just click through work, like the better chance your work has of being seen. I think that's like a really, really big, important part right now. That is honestly like how I think Shane found my art, was just the internet. So that's pretty think about. So yeah, I think maintaining social presence, social media presence is a really big thing.
All right, well, to all you aspiring artists out there, take her advice. Look at where she is now. But we do have two questions from the Discord server. One comes from Mark. He asks, why did the series change the title in its second season?
I wish I could tell you. I have to assume it had something to do with marketing. Usually those kind of decisions happen, I think, because of reasons like that. I assume, done to help the show. I don't really know, to be honest. I just remember one day Chris was working a new title card, and I was like, cool. Yeah, I don't know, unfortunately.
I mean, they're honestly both really good titles. So
yeah, they're both good. So.
And one last from Disney Doof. He wants to know if you like the Don Bluth animation style. He says it's his favorite 2D style.
It's funny. I was just watching Secret of NIMH like literally 3 nights ago. And yeah, I mean, what's cool about where I went to college, actually, Savannah College of Art and Design, is they have the, I don't know what the official title of it is, but it's like a library. It's like an archive of Don Bluth's work that you can just go look at. Animation cells, paintings, like anything you could imagine from production is there in that library to be looked at. So that was a really cool thing to be able to take advantage of during my time there. Yeah, there's a lot to be impressed by, I think, for sure.
I wish I knew more about all this kind of stuff, but thank you. Thank you, Kait, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, and links to her Twitter, her Instagram, all that stuff will be in the description of the episode. Yeah, if you guys would like to say goodbye, we're gonna go ahead and switch you on out. But thank you for coming again. Goodbye, everybody. Say
Thanks,
bye.
Kait.
Thank you for everything you do on that show.
Of course, thank you guys so much for the shout out, for the love. Great.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, that was fun. We've never really done anything like that before. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Except for when we interviewed Dallin.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, we did do that. That's right. We did actually interview
I'm humbled. Now I'm doing the interviewing with you guys, so come full circle.
But yeah, like I said, links to all her stuff will be in the description below if you'd like to check out her art and stuff. She does really cool. Really talented at that. I wish I could draw. That's just like my main thing. But anyways, moving on to or Mark says bring in Frank. I cannot pronounce that last name, from DuckTales. We'll see. I want to try and have more people to interview for the show. I feel like that would be interesting for you guys to listen to, all that stuff. But yeah, so I guess we're going to move on to our sort of secondary main topics for the show. And don't worry, guys, we're going to get into the Space Mountain incident later on, but we do have, I know everybody's excited to, or I guess anxious to sort of talk about that because it's pretty crazy. But before we get into that, we do have a topic from Alex. Let's see, from Fox News of all places. Let's see.
I like how you said that.
when you sent the link, I was like, wait a minute, is this the right?
What?
No, I heard about it, like, I want to say yesterday. Not this link, because I think it was only posted today, but I did hear yesterday that about this story. But anyway, so for those of you who don't know, Disneyland Paris has announced a new a new event called Magical Pride Party. It's basically the first LGBTQ Pride event in Disney Parks' modern history. So yeah, basically it's an official event, actually. So it's not like it's an unofficial event like Gay Days at Disneyland, where people just show up and Disney kind of just sells some, gay pride stuff at the shops and things kind of unofficially. This is something that is official and is happening at Disneyland Paris, and it's even on the Disneyland Paris website as part of their events list. I actually looked it up myself just to make sure that this is actually real. But it is. And so something that this article also mentioned was something I didn't know, which was that basically like Gay Days at Disneyland was started from an actual official event celebrating the gay and lesbian community that happened at Disneyland in California back in the 90s and had stopped around 1998, which is where Gay Days started becoming an unofficial event that all the fans of the official event started hosting themselves at Disneyland. So I looked that up too, and apparently that's also true. So that's interesting. I never knew. I mean, there's a few things in this world that has to do with Disneyland that I never knew. And this is one of those things where I was totally surprised by that, especially in the 1990s. So anyway, so this is definitely a very, I don't know, I think this is kind of like a big thing, you know, because Disney has been so, what's the word, like Switzerland when it comes to, you know, anything that acknowledges like, you know, people's orientation, you know, sexual orientation, things like that. So it's just really interesting that this suddenly became like this new official event at Disneyland Paris. And actually, it looks pretty exciting. I think they're going to have this like really cool like projection show on the castle and stuff like that, kind of in place of their normal nighttime spectacular, stuff like that. Of course, they're going to have all kinds of merchandise and things like that being sold. And so that's that. But I also kind of wanted to input my own like personal thoughts on it. I'm not going to say opinion, but just thoughts, because it's kind of funny. As a gay person myself, you'd think like I'd be like, wow, you know, Disney should have been doing this like a long time ago and never stopped it and stuff like that. But it's like kind of funny because I don't know like how I feel about it. On one hand, I'm kind of like, that's really great, you know, they're acknowledging all these people, and especially since these people are major fans of Disneyland and feel really safe going to Disney parks, you know, and this is like a happy thing. And the other side of me kind of goes, that's interesting that they chose to do this again. Well, I mean, not at Disneyland Paris, but that they've chose to go back into doing an official event that acknowledges the LGBTQ community, because Disney has a lot of fans worldwide, and the majority of Disney fans tend to live in like not just America, but countries that don't, or I should say frown upon that kind of lifestyle and things like that. And so it's just interesting that Disney was, at least Disneyland Paris, that is, was so willing to go back into it and face any kind of criticisms, you know, from non-LGBTQ people. So I just thought that was really interesting. And then finally, the last part of my thoughts, which is like, I think it's awesome, like if they sell merchandise even year round, if they sold like, you know, special like rainbow lanyards or like, you know, just stuff that had like that kind of acknowledges that community. But I also wonder, is it really necessary to hold a pride event at a Disney park when Disney parks are usually about Disney as opposed to like what's happening in the real world? So I don't know, like I'm not against it. I'm not saying that. So anybody who's like listening to this and they're like, what's wrong with you? You know, but I just wonder, like, I wonder how everyone's going to take it. And I wonder if it's something that's going to continue from now on, or if this is going to be like the first and final year they do it at Disneyland Paris.
Well, I think it's, even if it is just the first and the last, I think it's good that they at least try to do it once. I mean, I don't really know much about, I can't really speak for this kind of thing, but I feel like it's a good thing, like especially in Paris of all places. I think it's a really great. I mean, I'm just repeating myself, but I do think it's a good idea for them to do it. Whether or not other people will agree is a different, I guess, a different story. But Dallin, what are your thoughts?
Pretty similar to you, Matt. I think we were talking. Something Alex said. Something. People go to Disney for the escapism, you know, because here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. And that's kind of true. Like with the Hall of Presidents at the Magic Kingdom, that's sort of modern political, sort of in a way, because they put the current presidents in the room with all the past presidents. But I think holding their Pride event, I would love to attend anything that has new exclusive shows or, more importantly, food. I'm absolutely I'm there. So I don't know if this is something they're doing to gauge interest in future years, or maybe even bringing it over to the States. But if the community is a great time and gets to go to Disney and just have events making them, it says live your best life and shine with the joy of diversity at the magical Pride Parade. So I mean, absolutely. I can get some delicious exclusive event food.
Okay, yeah, so I guess we love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below as well. I'm gonna go ahead and quote from the article really quick. It says, quote, "You will be able to, or it will include meet and greets with Disney characters, an opportunity to join the," I think Alex already said this, but I already started reading, so I might as well just finish it. An opportunity to join the magical march of Diversity Parade and a party with DJs, live music, karaoke, I'm down, and several themed photo ops. Attendees will also get special access to selected attractions during the weekend. So, yeah, sounds pretty fun. I'd go if I lived in Paris and had enough money to go to Disney on that particular day. But, yeah, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts down below in the comments. And,
gosh, you guys sound so much more accepting than I am.
I just love Disney events. What can I say? All of them.
Yeah, I guess on that note, we're going to get into the second topic for today. This one sort of came up out of the blue. I didn't really know what we were going to be talking about for today's show until, lo and behold, I was looking at Twitter. I saw a retweet from someone. The tweet said something along the lines of, well, I guess we'll just get into it. I'm sure most of you guys have seen or heard about this at this point, but in case you haven't, this article comes from the Orange County Register, he who must not be named. Disneyland Space Mountain remains closed. Well, this was a couple days ago. I believe it's reopened at this point, but Disneyland's Space Mountain remains closed after visitor climbs off ride in motion. So, this is like the next level stuff, you guys. I don't even know where to begin with this. I guess I'll go ahead and give some of the details of what happened. So, Disneyland's Space Mountain was closed after a guest did climb out of the ride vehicle. He was in his 20s and had cognitive disabilities. The man walked under his own power to the Disneyland first aid station and was taken to the hospital. Anaheim Police Sergeant Darren Wyatt said he didn't fall out. He had to maneuver himself around the safety mechanism. So this was the lap bar was not raised or anything. He just managed to wiggle himself out. They said he, quote, used force to maneuver his way out of the vehicle. They say he climbed out of the moving train in the dark during a slower portion of the ride as the coaster was making its initial climb, and then they stopped once they realized the man was not on the train anymore. So I'm assuming this happened the first lift hill, I'm guessing, with all the fancy lights and stuff. I could be wrong, but I believe it says in the article they didn't have a name of the person because there was no police report filed. So it's very... Gosh, I don't even know where to begin with this. It's very crazy to see this kind of thing happen. I guess we'll start with Alex. Alex, what are your thoughts on this crazy incident that happened this past week at the parks?
I think that is like so weird how he was able to like wiggle out of there, you know, like then again, I tend to not have any space to wiggle around, but you know, I do, yeah, I think the article does mention that he did have like cognitive disabilities, so I can't help but wonder if maybe he had like some kind of anxiety as the ride started and just wanted to get out of there. So, and I think that Disney responded quite well, actually. They stopped the attraction, and then he got off, and then he went to the nurse's station himself, and the nurses wanted to, you know, make sure he was okay, so they offered to send him to the hospital. So I think all in all, this situation turned out really well for what could have been pretty dangerous. But also I wanted to like talk about like what we think about how safe Disney rides are, like whether we think they're pretty safe or whether they're not safe, or like which rides are safe or not safe, that kind of thing. So I do want to say that Space Mountain, I believe, is like, I actually feel like it's the safest roller coaster I've probably ever been on.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of safety features, you know, a lot of people don't know that that it's got like this special track that has high pressure air inside the tube. So if there's ever like a problem, like the track disconnects, or let's say the track develops a crack in it or something like that, that could, you know, cause havoc to its stability, the air pressure would release, which would alert the cast members that there's something wrong and the attraction must come to a stop, that kind of thing. As well as there's like staircases everywhere, and there's like walkways that connect to pretty much like 95% of the whole ride track. So it's like you can access every part of the ride pretty much quite easily and safely. And I don't know, I just like, I love Space Mountain. Now, you asked me to go on California Screamin', and I'm not going to say the same thing. So, but I do want to say there is one ride.
You mean the Incredicoaster? What, California Screaming never existed. It was always the Incredicoaster.
That's gone.
I guess that's right. It now belongs to the, what do they call that? The Jack kebabs. Yeah. But there is one ride at Disneyland that I definitely do not feel safe riding whenever I'm on, and that would be Splash Mountain. I am really bothered by the fact that there's like no lap bar or seatbelt or anything, and I know it's like because it's like, oh well, technically it's safe as long as you sit down, which is like totally true. As long as you stay seated, you'll be fine. But I can't help but feel like whenever I go down the final drop, I'm gonna float out of my seat for some like weird reason that like defies physics, you know? So I always feel like that. And the other thing too is, I don't know about you guys, I've seen like I like to stand on the pathway that is like over by the bottom of the drop where people kind of turn around, and I've seen so many people, and because they're so surprised how wet they got, they stand up while the ride is in motion. Yeah, I've seen so many people do that. They stand up and they're telling their friends or family like, oh, look how wet I am, like, you know. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, you should be staying seated, like, you know, you never know if this boat's gonna flip over. You know, it's not gonna do that. It's totally not gonna do that. But I mean, still, yeah, I've seen people do that. And then as a cast member, I've seen people actually, like, when the logs come to a stop, some people get impatient and just climb out. And I've seen that happen too. And that's a big problem, because right when they're about to get the whole ride reset and started again, it's like someone gets off and a cast member has to keep the ride stopped until they can go get the person that got off. So, and if they're like all the way at the top of Chickapin Hill, it's like, that's going to take forever. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, I just want to bring this up. This has nothing to do with the safety of Splash Mountain, but I remember a couple years. This might be funny to somebody out there, whoever's listening. But I remember a couple years ago, I was about to get into the log of Splash Mountain, or did I say Space Mountain? I meant Splash Mountain. If I said Space Mountain, I was
you
about
said Splash.
Okay, good. The butcher did not strike this time, but I was about to get into the log for Splash Mountain, and I was looking at the guy who had just gotten out of the log, and like right as I turned and looked at him, he was holding his phone in his hand. And I think his phone had like one of those otter boxes that's like waterproof and all that. And I look at him and I see, like right as I turn and look at him, his phone like falls out of his hand and goes in between the log and like falls inside the water. And that
like
was
slow motion.
Yeah. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't even know. He might have gotten it back because at that point I was already on the log. Everybody was like looking down, trying to look, and like, the guy was trying to reach in and try and grab it, and I was like, "Oh, you can't do that." And then we eventually took off, and then when we got back, I didn't see him there anymore. So I assume he got it back. So if you're listening, guy who dropped his phone in Splash Mountain, we want to know if you got your phone back if you're listening to us. But anyways, Dallin, what are your thoughts on this whole Space Mountain incident that happened the other day?
Well, I know for sure it's made history because we actually got a new entry on the list of incidents at Disneyland Resort Wikipedia page.
Ooh.
It's on there now.
Oh,
so, yeah. I'm very glad it didn't happen during the faster portions of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I'm glad no one was hurt. And I think mainly what I'll be watching for is if Disney does anything, because this is kind of, I don't want to say it's bad PR. It wasn't really their fault, but people are going to be pointing out that Space Mountain isn't exactly as safe as they had thought maybe, even though we all know that it is because we're knowledgeable about it. But people who wouldn't know better obviously would think someone fell out of Space Mountain. So are they going to, are they going to make more security precautions? I think that'll be definitely see developing. And I do agree. Space Mountain is probably the safest at Disneyland compared to the Matterhorn, which makes me. I think I'm going to die every time I'm riding it. But I'm just glad that nobody got hurt, and that's all I can say about that.
All right. Well, I guess that's sort of really. When I first heard about this on Twitter, they made it, the person who originally tweeted about this made it seem like the person like flew out during the ride. And
I saw that tweet.
Yeah, and it was like really confusing, and because I mean, how can someone like fly out of like Space Mountain of all roller coasters? They ask you to tug on the safety restraint, and you'd think it's pretty secure, and but yeah, that's sort of how it was made out to be, and we were all on the Discord. We were all very concerned when we read the tweet, and then when Orange County Register came along and published their article saying that he didn't fly out. Thankfully, he climbed out under his own willpower. We were all pretty relieved, and I guess sort of the one thing that we don't know, I guess, because like it says in the article that they don't have the name of the person, or I guess like a description of the person, because there was no police report filed, I believe is what they said on the website. So we don't know if it was like a real lanky dude like me, or a bigger guy who like just managed to climb his way out. So I get that could really have a lot of I guess impact on whether or not in the future Disney does address this further with more safety precautions. But yeah, I think the main thing is that we're glad he didn't fly out during the ride. We're glad he's safe. Yeah, I guess that's all we have to say for that. But we do have a second incident to discuss. This one is this one's different than the first one. I heard about this one today, actually, from Backdoor Disney of all places, whether or not you're a fan of him or not. People aren't
controversial.
Yeah, really controversial. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Backdoor Disney, but according to him, I believe he was contacted by a what do they call cast members at Orlando at Universal Studios? It's like just workers. I don't know. He was contacted by a worker who worked in Universal Studios Orlando, and there was also this post on Reddit that he tweeted out a couple days ago, or yesterday, or was it today? It was sometime today, I believe, detailing how a 15-year-old lost a foot on the E.T. attraction at Universal Studios Orlando on February 1st. So this is like in a completely different level than the Space Mountain incident, right, guys?
Yeah.
Because I can't even imagine this. And unlike the Space Mountain incident, we don't have a lot of details regarding this. We just have this, as far as I know, unless you guys in chat can link me to some I don't know, some New York Times article about it. This is all we have to go on is this Reddit post and what Backdoor Disney has tweeted. So yeah, we don't really have, like I said, we don't have a lot to go on this, but yeah, this is very much more worrisome. If you guys read the Reddit post, you can sort of see how it happened. I guess I've never been on the E.T. attraction. I've never been to Universal Studios in Orlando, so I don't really know how that ride operates. But yeah, according to Disney Doof, it was closed all day today. I guess this would require much more, I guess, attention than the Space Mountain incident was, because someone actually, you know, did get hurt on this. And you know, E.T. is such a cuddly, cute guy, you wouldn't think it would happen on E.T. But like I said, I don't really know how the ride system works, any of that kind of stuff. But Alex, do you have any quick thoughts on this new incident that came to light the other day?
Well, that's certainly not something that E.T.'s light up finger can fix. All I can say is people should really just not like stick their extremities out of rides. Like, you know, like I've seen so many people like nearly like lose an arm, even on the Disney.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, it's insane that people just think that that's just like, well, no, they don't even think, they just do it. They just like stick their arm out or their leg out. They don't even like think about what could possibly happen when that, like, you know, that stationary object is approaching. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
What about Mr. Dallin? Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Oh, I'm actually reading through the thread right now that was posted, and apparently, I mean, obviously it's not confirmed. This is confirmed though. Someone working at guest services in Universal, they're on full damage control today, is what he says.
Ooh, okay.
And apparently it said, another comment says he didn't lose his foot, but it definitely something on the attraction, he stuck it out and it broke his foot, like it twisted it so bad that it broke.
Okay.
Ooh.
And it says the person said he was ignoring everyone telling him not to, and the safety spiel, which again, we can't confirm. I'm not going to badmouth someone who potentially got injured on a ride.
Mm-hmm.
So that might add a little bit more to the story, because I definitely think something absolutely happened, because someone working at Universal said they're on full damage control today. And I don't know if Universal has like a refurb or wait times thing like Disney does, where you could check the wait times, because I don't know. ET's probably down right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to Universal, but my best wishes to this poor person.
What if you're like riding the ride and you get hit by this foot just flying?
I found it.
Oh no, that'd be horrible. But yeah, like Dallin said, this is all, I guess, speculation until an official article is published on some news website, I guess local to the area. We'll have more details. I guess we'll update you guys next week. If we have any further updates on this, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of clickbait article that's released about this within the coming weeks, probably. But yeah, if there is any new information regarding this, we will definitely keep you guys updated. Best wishes to the poor individual who either lost his foot or broke his foot. I can't even imagine what would happen if I gosh, I don't know. It's just really crazy to me to think that that would happen. But
You probably got 2 left feet now.
Alex is charged. He's ready. He's got the jokes ready. My gosh.
Hey, I took a nap before this stream. So
I guess we can sort of circle back just for a little bit. Circle back to what Alex said about our opinions on whether or not Disney, or I guess now that this ET incident happened, whether or not theme park attractions are as safe as we make them out to be. I do agree with Alex about Space Mountain being one of the most safest roller coasters, at least the the Disneyland version, in my opinion. I do share his worries about Splash Mountain. I really wish there was at least like a shoelace that I could tie around myself and the seat so I can make sure that I don't fly out of it. But yeah, so I don't think we heard Dallin's thoughts on that. So do you think Disney attractions, I guess not necessarily just thrill rides, but because I don't know if like ET is a thrill ride, it's probably not. So I guess what are your thoughts on the safety of theme park attractions in this day and age?
I absolutely think if you want to go to a theme park and ride attractions that are super safe, Disney is the best place to go to. Easily, like by far. Like I said, I've never been to Universal, so I can't speak for that. But even places like Six Flags, or here in my home state of Colorado, we have a theme park called Elitch's in downtown Denver, and it's kind of spooky sometimes. And Disney always makes me feel very safe on their attractions. And I actually, very interesting case, because the Disneyland version specifically, I feel like is always shutting down. For some reason, I might be a bad luck charm for it or something, because my past 2 visits, I've been on it twice. And me and my girlfriend were riding it, and we got stopped right before the final ascent into Chickapin Hill, and we had to get evac'd. And then the second time, we were around the same spot, and we got evac'd again off of the same thing. So Splash Mountain at Disneyland worries me, not because I'm going to feel like I'm flat on my seat, but just the constant closures for unknown reasons. I'm a little nervous, but I still love it. I ride it and I enjoy it because that's just the way it is. And I think Disney is definitely a leader in theme park safety. They closed down Alice in Wonderland at Disneyland for the better part of a year to redo the second story section to add handrails for evacuations. So I definitely trust Disney.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Disney is the best when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I'm the opposite. I've never been evac'd on a ride before. I don't know if I should be jealous or if I should be glad that I've never been evac'd before. I don't think I've ever been stopped. I guess not counting Haunted Mansion, because that one, you just get stopped pretty normally during the ride. But other than that, I don't think I've ever been stopped. Maybe Winnie the Pooh. I don't really count Winnie the Pooh as like a ride though. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been stopped on like a ride at Disneyland before. So that's kind of, now that I think about it, that's kind of crazy. In the Magic Kingdom, though, I did get the Space Mountain over there did get stopped, and they had to push us to get the ride going again. So that was pretty cool. But what ride would you want to be evac'd? I mean, realistically, I don't think I'd want to be evac'd on any ride. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Haunted Mansion would be a fun one to get evac'd on. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any rides you'd like to get evac'd on in the future?
Oh, good.
I'll just be really quick. I would either like to be evac'd either on Haunted Mansion or the main area of Pirates of the Caribbean, like, after the Spanish main battle with the ship and stuff like that, because that's where the good stuff is.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be evac'd either there. But I have almost been evac'd on the Indiana Jones Adventure. We came to a stop just after the Cavern of Bubbling Death, before the Rat Room, and we were there for like a good like 20 minutes, and I honestly thought we would be able to walk. So excited, even though it's just at that point it's just black tunnels. There's nothing to see, but the lights came on and everything. But then they shut everything back off, and the ride resumed. So sad day.
Gotta say, the Haunted Mansion, like we were all saying, specifically during the hallway scene at the beginning, you know, near the corpse trying to come out of the casket or the corridor of doors, that area for sure. Or I'm gonna say Space Mountain. I've never seen it with the lights on, and I'd really like to see just the sense of scale that you don't really get when you're in there riding it with the lights off. I'd really like to see how big it is in there, because I know it's just all metal track and not much to look at in terms of the actual attraction, but just, you know, the inside.
It's awesome. When I was a cast member, they used to have like I forget what event it was. I want to say it was grad night, or maybe it was something else, or a company event or something, but they had closed the park early that day at 6 p.m. and they were going to reopen 2 hours later for this event. And I remember, like, I was a busboy at the time at Riverbell Terrace, and my lead was basically telling everybody, okay, so since we have like 2 hours of downtime and the rides have to remain on, we're actually going to let anybody who's done working, you know, and cleaning their area just go on rides. You can do whatever you want. And we're like, what, really? And it's really rare, because it was just one of the things where they couldn't turn off the rides. They only had 2 hours, you know, so it's like everything was still running. So it was like me and all my coworkers, the first thing we did was, we're going to Space Mountain, and we thought we were just going to ride Space Mountain. But as soon as we got in line, the cast members were like, hey, do you want us to turn the lights on? And we're like, yeah, do it. So we rode 2 times in a row. We didn't have to get off. We just rode 2 times in a row with the lights on. And that was like really cool. There's a lot of stuff in there that used to be lit up, if you know what I mean, but isn't anymore. So there's some cool props in there.
Awesome.
I'm so jealous, Alex. Gosh. I guess
I've lived a good life.
I mean,
if I died right now, I'd be happy.
Oh my gosh. We could add that to the Wikipedia list for incidents for the Matterhorn Matt stream. All my mispronunciations. Yeah, I guess if you guys have any rides you'd like to get, that sounds like such a weird thing to ask. What ride would you guys like to get evac'd on? But if you guys watching have any in specific, I guess, that you'd like to get evac'd on, comment down below or say in chat. Yeah, I guess it's always a fun experience, even though it's never happened to me before. Maybe one day it will. I don't really want to like wish that it happens to me, because I wouldn't like know the context of like why we're getting evac'd, but you know, nonetheless, I'm sure it'd be very interesting. And on that note, I think we're gonna wrap up these main topics for today. Yeah, if you guys have any fellow or further comments you'd like to say about what we've been talking about, be sure to comment down below. And now, everybody, it is time for your favorite segment of the show, Matt Hosts Ghost. Ooh.
Welcome to Matt Hosts Ghosts.
Yeah, time for Matt Hosts Ghosts. If you guys have any scary stories, I guess, that you'd like to submit, they can either have happened to you, happened to a family member. They can be completely made up. As long as it's a good read for us, then we'll be completely happy. You can email them to me, ytmatterhornmatt@gmail.com. I should do like exclamation email so you guys can figure out my email, because it's so confusing to have to say it. But the email is ytmatterhornmatt@gmail.com, or if it's probably easier just to message them to me on Discord. Yeah, well, I guess before we start, I don't know if we've ever asked Dallin if he has any spooky stories to tell us. He might have been on before we started doing this, so Dallin, do you have any spooky stories you'd like to tell us before we get into
Oh, that's very interesting. I don't think I have any. They have to be Disney related, right?
They don't have to be Disney related. No, they can be any sort of paranormal stuff. Any maybe like you got abducted by aliens you'd like to share with the world.
Dude, everyone, who hasn't gotten abducted by aliens? I don't have, not mine. This story isn't mine, but so I did the 31 Nights at the Haunted Mansion, so a video a day. And on Halloween, I interviewed a guy who was a character actor in the Haunted Mansion. He played the Phantom in the ballroom and in the corridor of doors. And he has tons of stories of just in, I guess I'd call groups of guests, because let out both of the stretching rooms and then they have to load both of the stretching rooms again. So that make like a little bit of a gap in between guests loading and unloading from the Haunted Mansion. So there'd be 5-minute intervals where you're completely alone in the Haunted Mansion by yourself. Sometimes this is late at night at midnight, you know, so sometimes your imagination runs crazy. It's not really paranormal. I just thought it would be a little spooky story to set the mood. I think empty haunted mansion at midnight's a little spooky. Okay.
I'd agree. That would be pretty spooky. Thank you, Dallin, for sharing your kind of spooky story.
A little bit.
Let's see. We might as well finish. Nate sent his chapter 2 of the House of Vengeance. So, yeah, I guess we'll get right into that. Thank you, Nate, for sending in all your amazing stories to us. If you missed the first part, or I guess chapter 1, you can go back 2 weeks ago, because last week we read BBQ Head's spooky story that happened to him. So yeah, go back 2 episodes if you'd like to hear chapter 1 of the House of Vengeance, but I'll try to pronounce everything right this time. I'm sorry, guys. Alright, here is chapter 2 of the House of Vengeance. This is Wedding Day, fall 1945. Alright, here we go. A group of guests, invited by Don Lombardo himself, waited outside of his study to ask him a favor. While speaking to a guest in the study, the Don was interrupted by one of his counselors. You just put these names in just to mess with me. Sal Rizzi, who hurriedly rushed into the study. Sal says, "Don Lombardo, they found the missing security guard. He's dead." Don was shocked, almost mortified to hear one of his security personnel was murdered in his home, especially during a happy occasion. Sal says, "We have no idea what happened to him. What shall we do?" Don replies, "I want you to keep everyone calm. Why would something like this happen, especially on the day of my daughter's wedding?" Whispers spread to all of the guests that the security guard was found dead near the campground. People close to the Don kept quiet to not frighten any of the guests. Amidst the rumors, the bride Anna was walking around searching for her groom Paul. Anna says, "Pete, have you seen Paul anywhere? He told me he was going to use the bathroom, but it's been almost an hour." Pete is a security guard who works for the Don. He was the first to find the rumored security guard dead. Pete says, "I haven't seen him, Anna. If I find him, I'll send him your way." And Anna replies, "Thank you, Pete." Inside the house, Sal Rizzi was going to use the restroom, but the door was locked. He knocked on the door a few times to see if it was occupied. Sal says, "Is anyone in there?" No answer. Sal waited a moment before he knocked again. Still no answer. He picked the lock with a card in his pocket and managed to unlock the bathroom door. Inside was a lifeless man sitting on the toilet. Sal froze in the middle of the room, shocked to even let out any sort of reaction. The lifeless man had blood running down his tuxedo and his throat was slit open. The lifeless man was Anna's groom, Paul. Outside, the bright sunny weather became dark and cloudy. As the weather got worse, guests started to leave. While guests said their goodbyes to the bride, she felt lost and confused. She thought to herself, "I understand needing to use the bathroom, but why would he take this long? Maybe he needs a break from all the people, some time to decompress. He's shy and gets nervous easily. I'd understand if he just told me. I know for a fact he wouldn't ditch me. That's not in his character. At the same time, there's no way he could have gotten lost. Where could he be?" She was about to find out. End of chapter 2. Thank you, Nate, for sending in your wonderful stories. Story. We haven't finished this one, but very excited to see how this one ends. Yeah, Nate's in chat right here, so everybody in chat, be sure to say thank you, Nate. Give him a pat on the back for writing all these wonderful
Thank you,
stories.
Nate.
I don't know if I announced
I have
this.
something.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a kind of like a really quick like spooky story, but it's real.
Ooh, spooky.
Oh my god, please stop doing that. Okay. So for those of you who've like been paying attention to my spooky stories, I think like a lot of people who've come to my house kind of know it's kind of haunted. I'm pretty sure it's haunted, but it's like really hard to prove my house is haunted to people, so it's like you'll just have to take my word for it. But anyway, so like before Christmas of last year, I wanted to clean up the house. So I went around the living room cleaning up stuff, and in this closet I have in the living room, I have like 2 board games in there, just left over from whatever I used to have Monopoly and other stuff, and I guess all I have left is Scrabble and a Ouija board.
Mm.
So, and Matt knows about the Ouija board. We played with the Ouija board before.
Ooh,
And so, anyway, so I'm like trying to make room in this closet to fit more stuff. And I decide, you know what? I never ever play Scrabble, so I'm gonna throw it away. And so I go out to the dumpster and I toss it in the dumpster. So I'd say like maybe about like a week ago, I go upstairs to my room and I see like underneath my desk chair is the Scrabble box. And the funny thing is like my husband was sleeping at the time, so I just kind of assumed that maybe he realized I got rid of the Scrabble box and then like probably fished for it in the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like, I don't know why he would do that. Like, I'd rather just buy a new one, right? So I didn't care. But later that night, when he finally woke up, he came downstairs and he's like, by the way, like, what's with the Scrabble box? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes like, well, why did you leave it under the chair? I'm like, I didn't leave it under the chair. And he was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I told him, I'm like, I thought you put it there. He goes, I didn't even know we had Scrabble. And so I was like, oh my God. And so I went and got the box from upstairs and I looked through it because I'm like, maybe this was another box, though how it got where it did, I have no idea. I'm looking through the box and it's the same box. It's got only 3 of those little like things that hold the letters, the little tiles, and I remember like it used to have 4 and I remember it was missing 1, so it was the same box, and I have no idea how it got there several weeks after I threw it in the dumpster by hand. So that was pretty weird.
Sting. Spooky.
Oh
my God.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing your spooky story. I'll stop doing that. For sharing your spooky story with us. If you guys would like to see Alex and I using a Ouija board, you can go back to the podcast that we did live from Disneyland. Like 2 months ago. It's already February. What in the world? That's crazy. But yeah, last December we did a I guess live Matterhorn. What is this segment called? Matt Hosts Ghosts. We did a live segment of Matt Hosts Ghosts, and we used the Ouija board in Alex's house, and it was very interesting. I'm not gonna spoil what happens, so you guys got to go back and watch it. But yeah, I guess that wraps up this episode of Matterhorn Mondays. Big thanks to the one and the only Mr. Dallin, Offhand Disney, for being here today.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time. I loved talking with Disney stuff about you guys, talking about Disney stuff with you guys, and the Tangled the series. All of that is just my favorite. I love being here.
I guess you guys won't need a link to his channel, but link to his channel will be in the description down below. Also link to Kait's stuff, like I said, her Twitter, her Instagram. Big thanks to her as well for coming out and agreeing to do the interview. Yeah, we're going to try and do more of that, more interviews with cool people, so you guys don't just get bored of Alex and I every week. I mean, how could you get bored of, you know, we're the best, you guys, but just kidding. But yeah, so if you guys
do that as well as I do.
No, I know. Yeah, if you guys have any further thoughts you'd like to say on any of the topics we talked about, whether it be the Space Mountain incident or the LGBTQ festival happening at Disneyland Paris, or if you have any questions for further questions, I guess, for Kait, comment down in the description below. I guess we'll try and update you guys next week on the ET incident as well, so stay tuned for that. Big thanks to everyone who came out live to watch this. I think we peaked at 29 people-ish. So yeah, big thanks to everybody. We'll see you all next week. Oh, also, they're releasing, I forgot to say this for News from the Peak, but if you guys watch, I guess it's too late now, since this will come out Monday, but if you guys are interested in seeing a new Toy Story 4 trailer, that drops during the Super Bowl tomorrow, but if you're watching this on Monday, it already passed, so be sure to check on YouTube for the trailer. But I think they're doing an Avengers Endgame trailer as well, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to be talking about that. Yes, I'm so excited for Avengers Endgame, and also I hope the Patriots lose. All you football fans in the chat, all one of you. But yeah, I'll stop rambling on. Big thanks to everybody who came out live. Thanks to Dallin, thanks to Kait, and of course thanks to Alex as well.
Oh gosh.
And on that note, we hope you all have a fantastic day, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.